Hi, my name is Emily McCoy, and I am excited to teach you a little bit about being a school librarian. I love being a school librarian. I have been a librarian since 2008, and one of the things I love most about being a librarian is the opportunity I have to help students fall in love with reading and fall in love with books. And so I'm here today to teach you a little bit about what is a library and some of the roles that I have as a school librarian. So let's get started. First of all, what is a library? A library is a place where people come together to learn and gain knowledge, and a place where you can read for fun. A library is a room where a collection of books are found for reading, learning, study, and research. So, a library, it's actually free to go there. You do not have to pay to go to the library. You do not have to pay for the books. Number two, you actually borrow the books. So the books are borrowed for a certain period of time. And borrowing a book is called checking out a book. So when you borrow a book, it's called checking out a book. And number four, you return it on the due date. So you bring the books back on the due date, and then you can check out new books. So libraries expand and support the teachers and the school's classes. So one of the things I love most about being a librarian is the opportunity that I have to collaborate with the teachers, to work together to see how I can help them find books to support what they are teaching in their classes. In a school library, ideally, each class visits the library every week, usually at the same time. Then the students return the books that they checked out in the previous weeks, and they check out new books. And the librarian reads them a short story or gives them a short lesson. So what are some of the roles or the job description that I have as a school librarian? First of all, a school librarian introduces children and young adults to books and literature and other resources to broaden their horizons. The librarian collaborates with teachers and is in charge of the library space. So just as if I was a teacher and I was in charge of my classroom space, as a librarian, I am in charge of the library space to make sure it's neat and tidy, that the books are put back in the right order, etc. The school librarian also organizes the books, and we promote the enjoyment of reading. And we run the library that will help prepare students to be effective users of ideas and information, which is a lifelong skill. Now, whether it's information that they are getting from a book or it's information that they are getting on their phone, to find out where to purchase a certain product, or maybe they're looking for a job. It's my job as a librarian to teach them how to find the information they're looking for and then communicate that information to someone else. School librarians are literacy advocates. Now, what that means is it's my job to promote the power that reading has. Reading is fundamental. It's fundamental to every other subject, every other thing that we do. It's fundamental because it helps us in all of the different subjects. So as a literacy advocate, it's important that I model reading. So I read books to kids aloud. I also talk to my students about what I am currently reading or ask them about the book that they've just read. It's also my job to help struggling readers. So librarians develop reading strategies to help struggling readers. So find a book that a student is interested in, and yet one that they can successfully read. It's one thing if they get excited to check out a book, but as they open it up and if the words are too hard, then they're not going to want to check out any more books because they'll get discouraged and just think I can't succeed. So it's my job as the librarian to make sure I have found a book that's appropriate for their age and also for their reading level. It's also my job as a librarian to recommend books. So librarians suggest books that would fit well with the age and the interests of the topic. Or it's my job to help students find books that interest them. Maybe they just read a book about planes, trains, and automobiles, and they're really into those kinds of things. Then I'm going to help them find another book that has to do with that topic. Or maybe it's a fictional story that is all about fantasy and adventure, and I can help them find their next fantasy and adventure story. Librarians also display books. So one of the reasons that I display books is that there's often books that don't get checked out, and the students don't even know that we have them in the library. And so it's important for me to display those books to try to get them checked out. And it also helps them broaden their reading horizons. I have quite a few students that come in every single week and they want to check out the same book or the same type of books because they really love that book. And I want to get them reading lots of different kinds of books. And so it's important that I do what I can to display books and show them all of the reading possibilities. So as a librarian, it's important for me to encourage my students to talk about what they are reading. So I can ask their opinion about a book and have them share it with their classmates. These are some possible questions that I could ask as the librarian. What makes a character strong? What makes a character weak? How could the author make the conflict more interesting? Every story, especially fictional stories, have a conflict or a problem or a challenge that they need to overcome. And sometimes the students might have suggestions of how they could make that problem more interesting to read. One of the beauties about asking them questions about what they're reading is this is going to check their comprehension. So you can see how well they are understanding the books that they are reading. And it will also help their teacher. It's also important for me as a librarian to read aloud. So ask the students to help you read the book aloud, so you can have a student come up one at a time and help you read that particular page. This is what we call story time, and there's a completely its own module just on story time, but this is just a brief introduction. You can also ask them to read the book that they are reading aloud. So this helps with pronunciation, so how to pronounce the words correctly, and reading fluency. Now what reading fluency is it's how well a student reads the story as it flows. So if they're reading each word one by one, kind of choppy and like a robot, then that's not a fluent reader. Where if it's someone that can read a sentence and hardly take a breath and make it sound beautiful and wonderful, then that's a fluent reader. So if I read this next sentence, it also allows the teacher to see how a student might be struggling or succeeding in reading. That is not a fluent reader. Where if a different student or the same student, as they practice, it also allows the teacher to see how a student might be struggling or succeeding in reading. So you can see the difference in that. So reading a book aloud helps with that fluency, and it's really important that a student learns that. All right, so here's a few other reading tips that I have found. With the invention of technology and us having cell phones at our fingertips, I have found that students in general, even adults, struggle to focus or concentrate because their phone is a distraction. So I have tried to emphasize how distracting cell phones are, and I recommend either turning their cell phone off or putting it in a different space when they are reading. You can also improve reading comprehension with a student by asking them to use several of their senses. So for example, you can ask them to follow along with their finger. Okay, then they're going to hear the question. So they're going to hear the words as you're reading it aloud, and then you're going to see it. So you're going to see, hear, and touch. Those are 3 senses. So the more senses you can use as you're reading, the better a student is going to comprehend. All right, librarians also teach information literacy. So when you think of the word literacy, you think of someone who can read, right? Someone who is literate can read. Well, another part of my job description as a school librarian is to teach them how to be information literate. So that is knowing when and why you need information. So if my car breaks down, or I have something that breaks in my home and I need to fix it, I can find a book or a manual or something on the internet to help me fix that problem. Now, once I have found 4 or 5 different options, I have to read all of them, and then I need to evaluate if that is good information or if it's false or if it's not complete, and then I can communicate that information that I find. So that is one of my jobs as a school librarian. All right, reading also helps you succeed. So it can help you succeed in your job. You're going to get a better paying job, and better paying jobs require high level reading skills. Reading can help you succeed in school. Students who read well get better grades. Reading can also help you succeed at home. Readers understand instruction manuals and recipes and other things like that. So reading can help you in every facet of your life. Reading can also help you succeed at church. Reading helps you understand your scriptures or a religious text that you are reading. It can help you understand it better. Reading helps you succeed in your community. You can teach others how to learn to read if you love reading yourself. So what an amazing gift you can give someone, just if you love to read, to share that power of reading with them. Reading helps you succeed financially as well. Reading helps you get a better job and allows you to make better financial decisions. So you can see how reading is fundamental. So librarians help students discover the world through reading. So I might have never been to Africa or Australia, but I can read a book about Africa and Australia, and it's like it can transport me to another place in time. So reading can give you a renewed perspective. That's one of the things I love about reading, especially history, because history helps. We don't really want to repeat history. So if we can read about history and get a different perspective on something that happened, then we are less likely to repeat that kind of thing in history. Reading can also take you to another place, time, or reality. That's one of the things I love about fiction, is sometimes I just want to read a book to escape from the craziness of the world and all of the stress and overwhelming things that I have to do every day. And reading helps me relax and unwind, and I love that about reading. Reading can stimulate your imagination. So everyone has to have an imagination, especially those that end up inventing a new invention. Or maybe it's someone writing a fictional story. You have to use your imagination to learn how to problem solve and create new and exciting things. So reading can stimulate your imagination. I love that about it. So the librarian manages the collection of books. So these are some of the things that I have to do as a librarian. First of all, I have to maintain a record of the collection. So I keep track of all of the library books that are in my library. I'm also in charge to make sure that I keep a record of the books leaving the library, and I will show you in a module exactly how to do that. It's also my job to encourage the students to return the books to the library. They need to bring back the books that they've already checked out. So emphasize the importance of the students being responsible to turn the book in on time so that someone else can check out that book. It's also important for me as a librarian to show students the importance of accountability. So if a student does check out a book from the library and it is damaged or lost or stolen, then it's important for me to be an example of being held accountable for that lost, missing, or stolen book. So I can ask the student to pay a small fee for that book to be replaced. I've also asked them to perform some kind of service in the library. So I will have them help me dust the shelves, or I'll have them help me put the books back on the shelf, or have them help me make a book display on a topic that they would like to do. So performing that service really helps me as the librarian do some fun tasks that I don't normally have time to do. So that is a little bit about the role of being a school librarian. I hope that this has been informative for you. If you have any questions and you want to learn a little bit more about being a librarian, you are welcome to message me on Facebook, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. So thank you for listening to Module 1, and I hope you make it a great day.